Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is a broken game. No matter how much you love Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, no matter how many memories you have on it, no matter how much fun you have on it, it still does not deny the fact that this game is completely unbalanced and broken. I love Modern Warfare 2. I'm going to be honest. When I heard they were making it backwards compatible yesterday for Xbox One, I was so hyped because this Call of Duty is one of my favorites in terms of how much fun it is, in terms of the nostalgia I have for it, the memories I had on it. It's great in that sense. But that does not take away the fact that this is the most unbalanced Call of Duty of all time. The most broken Call of Duty of all time. Now, there's reasons for this. If you didn't know, around this time Modern Warfare 2 was out, Infinity Ward was having some problems, and they actually ended up splitting out about halfway through the life cycle of Modern Warfare 2, so they weren't able to update the game and come out with patches that fixed things and that changed things that would probably make the game infinitely better. But they weren't able to because there's tons of problems going on. They were only able to come out with one map pack because of this, and they ended up just splitting up. And then Modern Warfare 3's life cycle ended up being a little bit on the shaky side, and they ended up having to reuse a lot of stuff from Modern Warfare 2 because they weren't able to successfully create a game with the small studio they had at that point. They actually ended up having to get Sledgehammer Games to come along and help them out. And I think they did okay, but I think Modern Warfare 2 has a lot to go for it. It does. It's easily one of the most fun Call of Duties, but you need to balance. You need a mix between two things. You need a mix between balance and fun. And I think some Call of Duties have been able to do that perfectly. Other Call of Duties have been able to only do one or the other. For example, I think Black Ops 2 is probably one of the most balanced, also one of the most fun. It's able to make weapons all feel useful, so you're not just using one gun at a time. You can use many different guns in Black Ops 2. There's also a, good balance between what perks you're using, what killstreaks you're using. There's nothing that's too overpowered, even though there are some really good weapons in that game, but there's nothing that's too trash to the point where you cannot even try using it. And there's also a good diversity of equipment and attachments to use in the created class, so you're not using the same thing every time, and there's nothing that's just raining down unbalanced and just broken, basically. But Black Ops 2 is also able to admit a really fun atmosphere for Call of Duty that I love and enjoy a lot. I mean, I have so much fun on Black Ops 2. Those streaks are tons of fun. The maps are beautiful. The maps have some really cool features to them, and it's just a very, very fun and good Call of Duty for that nature. I think Black Ops 4 is going to be the same thing as well. Black Ops 4 so far has been a very balanced game. I've absolutely loved the beta. Obviously, the full game's not out. I don't know how the full game's going to be, but based off the beta, it's a very balanced game and a very fun game at the same time. I even think a couple other Call of Duties have the same type of thing. Some of them a little iffy on it, but some of them have been very good for it. And then you have Call of Duties like Modern Warfare 2, for example. I think this game is so much fun. I have such a good time on it, but only 50% of the time. Maybe not even 50%, maybe less than 50%, and I'll explain why. I'm having a fun-ass time when I'm playing this game, when I'm in a lobby where people are playing the game in a nice way. When they're using normal guns, they're using a diverse amount of perks, they're not abusing the power of the game. But when you get into a game where the other team is using one-man army, noob tube, danger close, they're overusing the sniper rifles and the quick scoping, and overall just not changing the weapons they use, just using the ACR or the UMP. I'm a bit of a example in that. I use the UMP all the time. I can't really complain about other people using it, but I'm not complaining about the players for using the noob tube or for using the overpowered things or for using the same classes and the same perks all the time, because it's how you get good at the game. You have to use the best things to be successful. I mean, you could be successful with shitty weapons like the F2000 or random ass perks that no one ever wants to use, but you're not going to be that successful. You're not going to be as easily successful. People want to be successful most of the time instead of just partially of the time. Now, there's times when I have such good fun games, and I don't have to do good every game to have a fun time. I don't have to, but I feel like sometimes there's just the certain times where I just don't have a fun time, even if I'm doing good, which is in certain situations when people are using noob tubes, abusing them, I'll say. So when I look at the creative class in Modern Warfare 2, I think it gives a good example of why this game is very unbalanced. You look at the perks. Starting off with Perk 1. Perk 1, it's pretty much between 3 perks, which I guess is good, but you're not going to be using all of them. I do like Perk 1. I think Perk 1 is probably the most balanced out of all of them. Perk 2 is somewhat balanced too, because you have one-man army, which a lot of people use. One-man army should just not be a thing. I'm going to be honest. One-man army is literally the biggest it's the most broken thing in the game. It is. They should have patched it, but they obviously didn't have the time to, obviously. Bling lets you get 2 attachments. That's fine and all. Scavenger is something I use a lot because if you go for high kill streaks, you're going to want more ammo. Sleight of hand lets you aim faster, reload faster. That's always useful. And Marathon no one really uses, but it is nice every now and then. Then you got Perk 2. It's got stopping power, which should not be a perk, but it is nice to use on sniper rifles. And then you got, you know, Hardline, which no one really uses, but it's still there. Cold-blooded, which I basically use every time. And then Danger Close, which you're only going to use if you're using a noob tube. Then you have Perk 3. Perk 3 is the biggest joke ever. I don't think I've ever used another perk other than Commando. I just use Commando because it's going to give you the increased melee distance, which is so useful when you're like in a close quarter situation. It's better than a shotgun. You might as well just use that knife to your advantage. And it also lets you take no falling damage. And on a game like Modern Warfare 2, where a lot of the maps have some pretty high locations, no falling damage is really useful. All the other ones, Steady Aim, Scrambler, Ninja, Sitrep, Last Stand, there's no point in using them. There just isn't. Then you have stuff like Death Streaks, which are just so obnoxious. You should not get rewards for dying a bunch of times in a row. It's just not. It's just a silly system that they had. It just really is. And why do you get the noob tube for the first attachment? Why? Why? The most overpowered thing in the game, and you get it first. What? I'm not going to go in depth about everything I don't like about this game. I'm just not, because I've already made a video about this in the past, and I'll put a link in the description to that video. But when I complain about stuff like this, I'm not saying it's terrible Call of Duty. I'm not saying it's the worst of all time. It's not. It's honestly one of my favorites. I'm going to be doing a ranking every single Call of Duty game video eventually. I'm going to rank all 11, starting with Call of Duty 4 all the way up to World War II. That's going to be a fun video. And Modern Warfare 2 actually ranks decently high, not too high, but it ranks somewhat in the top, you know, couple. So that's great. But I don't think it's good because of its balance. It's good because it's a fun game that you can hop on and use some really fun stuff and just mess around with friends on. But as a balanced game, that doesn't work for long term. Because balance is important for long-term enjoyment. Modern Warfare 2 is good for short-term enjoyment. You can play this game a few times a week and you'll love it. But if you play this game every day, like I do for some other Call of Duty games, you're gonna get sick of getting killed by noob tubes, getting killed by random-ass commando knives from 20 feet away. You're gonna drive yourself insane by those things. You are. Another thing I thought I should mention is kill streaks. I absolutely hate the fact that they're kill streaks, and I'll explain why. I've been playing Domination the most. People do not play the objective, dude. They do not even touch the objective, because once you're level 70 and you are, there's no point. There's just no point, because they only give you XP. They don't give you score for your score streaks, so who cares? You don't need to secure flags. They're not going to help you out. If you're a big person on a win-loss ratio, okay, yes, you might care, but that's the only reason why you would care, right? And most people just don't care, and that becomes a problem because people don't play the objective, and then games are all scattered of people camping, and that's the problem that this game had, and obviously Call of Duties have fixed in the future. I just wanted to make this video because I see a lot of people saying Modern Warfare 2 is the best of all time, and that's their opinion, and honestly, I could see why you'd think that. It's a very nostalgic game that I will always have really good memories on. I remember playing back in the day, Split Screen or Spec Ops or the campaign, or even just going for nukes, and it's a fun time. I can't lie. It's still a fun time now. I'm still having a good time. But it just doesn't go past the fact that it's such an it's just a broken game, man. It's such a broken game. And people are saying stuff like, these new Call of Duty suck, we want to go back to these fun times, but you have to realize it's only fun for a certain amount of time. And if you'll realize that when you continuously play a lot. I think you just need a balance between balance and fun. You just do. And I think Black Ops 4 is succeeding in that. I think a lot of other Call of Duties have succeeded in that. And honestly, I think World War II has succeeded in that. but they haven't succeeded in the fun factor. I think that's the opposite. World War II is like the opposite. World War II is very balanced. I'm pretty sure it's very balanced from what I've played. I haven't really had any big issues with it, but it doesn't have the fun factor there. And I think it's important to balance it too. And I think Treyarch has been doing a great job with that, and they should continue to do a great job with that. I just wanted to make this video to talk about Modern Warfare 2 since I've been playing it a lot lately, and I think a lot of people just need to see it in a non-nostalgic, blindfolded way and realize that this is not Call of Duty that we need today. We don't need it to be this unbalanced, but we do need the fun parts of this Call of Duty to be in the new ones. We need the fun killstreaks that are just overpowered to hell. We need fun guns. We need fun maps. We need places that are just fun. But you have to realize that a lot of the fun that comes from this game is not from actual fun. It's more from memories and nostalgia. And just the fact that you remember having fun when you were a kid playing this Call of Duty because it was one of the most popular at that time. And therefore, when you play today, you have those memories reminded you of how much fun you had back in the day. But that doesn't mean it's the best Call of Duty of all time. It's not. But it could still be the most fun. I think that's okay. And it's your opinion. You have whatever you want. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.